Approximately 200 civilians who have been held hostage by Hamas. One of the first images has now been released by Hamas. This is one of the Israeli footage, Israeli hostages of one of the young women who have been held captive by Hamas terrorists. We're being told that her identity is Mia Shem. She's 21-year-old. And of course, you can see psychological warfare. It's a propaganda video. They're showing that she's injured and she's being treated by the Hamas, that she's being taken care of by the Hamas. The hostage is seen getting this medical care. And Mia has said on video also, and we'll hear it just in a short while, "Get me out of here." There are about 200 Israelis, and I'm talking about little children, a 6-month-old, a toddler. Some of them are orphaned, who have been taken hostage and captive. Nobody knows about their condition. Where are they at this moment? Remember, there was a video that had come in of 2 little children who were being held hostage in their own house, and their parents were nowhere to be found, presumably dead, killed by Hamas. These children have been taken hostage, and now this is the first video of a hostage woman with, most likely this appears to be in the Gaza Strip. She's being treated. They're showing she's being given medical care. But clearly, remember, this is a propaganda. This is a warfare also of a certain kind, of psychological warfare as it is called. And then she says, "Get me out of here."
היי, אני מיה שם, בת 21 משוהם. כרגע אני נמצאת בעזה. חזרתי ביום לפנות בוקר, ביום שבת לפנות בוקר מאזור סדרות, הייתי במסיבה. נפצעתי קשה מאוד ביד, לקחו אותי לעזה, ניתחו אותי ביד פה בבית חולים 3 שעות, דואגים לי, מטפלים בי, נותנים לי תרופות, הכל בסדר. אני רק מבקשת שיחזירו אותי הביתה כמה שיותר מהר, למשפחה שלי, להורים שלי, לאחים שלי. בבקשה תוציאו אותנו מפה כמה שיותר מהר. בבקשה. תודה.
And remember, there are many people, elderly, men and women and children, whose information is absolutely not clear. Nobody knows about their whereabouts since they were taken away by the Hamas extremists. I'm joined by Gaurav Sawant. He's presently in Israel and tracking the latest. Gaurav, how will these videos be seen? The first image, at least some information about this young woman, Mia Shem. And what do we say about the strategy of Hamas to show that she's been given medical care? And I'm constantly reminded of those 2 little babies who've been taken hostage. Their parents are not seen, presumably dead, and nobody knows where they are too.
You know, this is part of intense mind games that are being played on ground zero here. Hamas finally conceded that it's got 199 people that it's holding hostage. In fact, this information came through Iran. Hamas reached out to Iran, and Iran has shared this information that there are 199 hostages that are being held, men, women, children. In fact, according to Israel, there's even a Holocaust survivor who's being held hostage by Hamas terrorists. So Mia Shem is from Sderot, and that's exactly where India Today has been reporting from very extensively in the southern part of Israel. And she was abducted during that Hamas raid and terror strike. This video, of course, shows she's getting treatment, but not much is known about the condition of the other 198. In fact, there are some reports that seem to indicate that there could be more than 200 Israelis who are being held hostage. Hamas has offered to release all the non-Israeli hostages. And this is an indication that there are several from other countries, including the United States of America, who are being held hostage. But Israel is not right now negotiating directly. Negotiations, we are told, are happening through interlocutors. You'd recall U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, for the second time in 5 days, he's in Israel. And he's traveled extensively all across the Gulf region, interacting with foreign ministers and governments in Saudi Arabia, in the United Arab Emirates, in Bahrain, and very extensive discussions have been held. The hope is, and Hamas wants the bombing to stop, to repatriate non-Israeli hostages. But Israel wants all hostages to be repatriated as quickly as possible, while insisting that it will continue its military operations to decimate the Hamas. So it's a very, very tricky situation on ground and this is now day 11 of that terror attack, since that terror attack took place, Pooja.
With US President Joe Biden set to arrive in Israel, Gaurav, in the next few hours, do you think that will also could possibly, with USA or another country from the Arab world, could become mediators to get these hostages back? Because we're talking about people who have some diseases, who are not well, and clearly they are also possibly living in, they are being held hostage in residential areas. So that any of these targeting or near terror hideouts, so Israel doesn't target these areas. So how do you think any negotiation could possibly happen in this case, with ground attack also appears imminent?
You're absolutely right. There have been reports that some Israeli hostages were killed in the airstrikes and the rocket and missile strikes and artillery fire that has been taking place. And they're being held not just in residential areas, but majority that we've been told are being held in those maze of underground tunnels all across the Gaza Strip. That's where they're being held, and that is why locating them and carrying out surgical strikes to retrieve them has been extremely, extremely difficult and tricky. It's been that's an idea that's been talked about. We are told that shallow incursions had taken place. But whether Israel wants, a negotiated way of bringing all the hostages back, you're right. Many of them very elderly, many of them, including some instances where people have dementia and do not have access to their medicines. It's a very, very tough situation for Israelis. And this video, once again, will have a major impact in Israel, because as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the Foreign Office here in Israel have been saying that there is no family all across Israel that's not been impacted by this terror strike, with 1,400 people dead, 3,000 injured, and now 200, close to 200 being held hostage. So this is one incident that's actually had a very major impact on the psyche of this country. And while they're resolute that Hamas has to be decimated, they're equally keen that all the hostages are repatriated as quickly as possible. Many were saying that, water, gas, and electricity supply to Hamas-held Gaza may just depend on the successful repatriation of all the hostages, and Israel officially wants a list of all names and photographs of people who are being held hostage. So yes, back-channel negotiations and diplomacy on. It remains to be seen whether U.S. President Joe Biden's arrival here in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv does bring about a change in that situation, and whether hostages are repatriated.
Remember, the focus of these videos, as we can see, Gaurav, is showing that she's being given medical care, but this woman clearly has no choice right now wherever she's being held up. And she says that I was injured, underwent surgery, and it is all appears to be under duress, and then she's asking to be for her to be taken out. Remember, right now we're talking about 200 at least, according to information coming in, are missing, kidnapped, and no information about them. I want our viewer to listen in to what she has to say. Gaurav, thank you very much for now. Stay safe, and I'll come back to you in a short while.
היי, אני מיישם, בת 21 משוהם. כרגע אני נמצאת בעזה. חזרתי ביום לפנות בוקר, ביום שבת לפנות בוקר מאזור סדרות, הייתי במסיבה. נפצעתי קשה מאוד ביד, לקחו אותי לעזה, ניתחו אותי ביד פה בבית חולים 3 שעות, דואגים לי, מטפלים בי, נותנים לי תרופות, הכל בסדר. אני רק מבקשת שיחזירו אותי הביתה כמה שיותר מהר, למשפחה שלי, להורים שלי, לאחים שלי. בבקשה תוציאו אותנו מפה כמה שיותר מהר. בבקשה. תודה.